So my name is David and I'm a freelance 3D motion designer in Sydney, Australia. I've been in 3D for 7 or 8 years. Got started by doing 3D SketchUp tutorials and just very elementary stuff, and then slowly got into Cinema 4D and then learnt more of the software and started doing some more complex stuff and getting into other programs like ZBrush and Substance Paint. I've been loving it ever since. Probably the most rewarding part was just seeing everyone's comments and reactions to how they resonated with the story of it. Just the relatable element, I guess, of loneliness, but also community with the soccer game. And yeah, it was just really nice seeing people pick up on subtle details in the scene as well as the architecture, because it was all hand modeled. So that was really rewarding. But my basic premise behind the idea was to show the wealth discrepancy between the rich and poor, but also tie it together, which is where the soccer element comes in, where happiness is not always equal to having more wealth or material possessions. So it's more nuanced than that. I started by sketching out some ideas, and you'll see that it actually changed quite a lot. So originally I had the rich girl kind of lower down in the dome, but then it didn't really make sense to have, the richer kind of area down in the chasm. So that's when I ended up with this idea where the girl is up on the balcony looking down. There's a bit of a chasm, and then you see the poorer area down here. So these are some of the iterations. And I like sketching over different renders as well, just so I know what to do for the next round. And yeah, I just like sketching stuff because it just feels very practical. So I started out by blocking out the scene, show you some of this. So these are some of the early layouts that I've got. So this is the progression of it. I like playing around with the details just enough so that I get an idea of how the composition is going. And then you'll see there's a big change right here where I decided to change the shape of this middle garden element to create more depth. And instantly, just with that one change, you get that feeling of depth down here with the chasm. And it just feels like there's more separation between the two worlds as well. That's kind of the environment. And then I used a lot of mega scans for the cliffs, and then lots of custom modeling as well. So all of this area is custom modeled in Cinema 4D. And then I use some background scans for the rundown buildings, some assets scattered around. And yeah, so what I'll do is I'll take you through the scene file. I'll just give it a minute. There's a lot of textures in here. There you go. So here's the file. First off, I tried to play with different camera focal length, so that's an 18, which is feeling a bit wide. Then I tried a longer lens, like a 35 and then a 50, but I found that the sweet spot was 24. Gives you enough in the scene with that wider perspective, but not too cramped as well. And then outside of the camera, you can see how the scene is actually assembled. When you're working with a camera view like this, you only need to worry about the details that you will see. For example, underneath this shelf, you won't see anything, so it's not worth adding any detail there. And that really allowed me to efficiently spend my time modeling the details that would be seen. So all of this stuff is hand modeled, and so it was fun kind of blocking out the main shapes and then going in and figuring out how these Art Deco elements would be arranged. And yeah, so that's pretty fun here. This fence was a particular highlight as well. I was really inspired by Atomic Heart, which is like a game set in Soviet Russia, and so some of the USSR architecture. Down here, you can see that I've kind of sculpted out a bit of a border to the soccer field. I'd imagine the kids kind of scooped that out with their hands, so just bringing a nice, very tangible touch to the environment. So that's most of the scene. And then in terms of the lighting, I've got a HDRI for the whole scene, and then the spotlight here for the sun. Couple lights just highlighting a few areas that are important. And then I've hidden from camera view, but you've got some gobos so that they block the light so that it's focused on the character. That's the scene. And then in terms of animation, I'm using Reallusion's iClone. I use my Rococo SmartSuite Pro 2 to record this bit of motion capture. You can see I've actually got lots of different iterations. So this is the raw motion capture that I recorded. So you'll see what happens. So she looks, and then in real life, I did a head turn, but then yeah, after bringing it into the scene, I realized that it was too much happening in 5 seconds. So then after a lot of tweaking, this is the final animation I ended up with. So she leans and then head down. And so it's really cool because in iClone you have something called the edit motion layer. And then this allows you to basically move parts of the IK rig on top of your motion capture so you can actually adjust it. So I got rid of the head turn and then I animated the torso to pop up like that, so she has that bit of a lead. That character was created using Character Creator 4, and then all of the clothing was made in Cinema 4D, so hand modeled. You can see that it's fully simulated. That dress flows really nicely, and then for these, I'm controlling the strength of the cloth using a vertex map, and then I textured everything in Substance Painter. I then use After Effects for compositing the final render, and you can see that this is my straight out of Cinema 4D render, so I've already got the volumetrics baked in. I like not having too much in comp because I think I prefer dialing in the final look in 3D. And then I added a little bit of depth down the bottom, it's very subtle, and then lots of adjustment layers. For example, I've got black and white mats that I've set up in the renderer, so then I can just use them to control the color of them. So if I just hide that, then you can see I've got an adjustment layer for the pitch to brighten it up, so your eye gets drawn to that. I then apply a LUT, which makes it instantly look more filmic, Lumetri color for contrast and gives it pop, and then a vignette to subtly guide your eye towards the center, motion blur, and then a bit of glow. It's very subtle, but you can see there, just adding a little bit of bloom, and then a glow on the top right, making it feel really vibrant and natural. Bit of chromatic aberration and grain, and that's pretty much the final result. So if I just toggle between off and on, you can see not hugely different, but the adjustments made definitely bring it to that next level. So that's pretty much the process that I used, and it was about 200 hours. I had experience using Fox Renderfarm before, and honestly I can say that they've been my go-to for render farms. I find they're the easiest to use. The interface is great, and I just drag and drop my project file on it. It'll analyze it for any issues, and it'll actually say what's wrong with it as well. If there are any errors, you can fix it before you render. It's really cool because it has test frames as well, so you can see what it's going to look like without rendering the whole job. And then if there's any frames that fail as well, you're able to quickly resubmit. And yeah, I find that they're really, really great.